Hi, welcome to the Brickfilmers Guild podcast, hosted by us, the Four Monkeys. On this podcast, we had the extreme pleasure of chatting with Zach Macias of MindGame Studios. Zach's YouTube channel, which was originally named Zach MG, has almost 40,000 subscribers. Now Zach runs a company called MindGame Studios, and it is an award-winning film and animation company specializing in stop-motion with Lego bricks. Since 2005, he has produced dozens of short, independent, and commercial videos for the web, most of which can be viewed on YouTube. 3 of his videos on his channel have over 1 million views each. This podcast is sponsored by Brick Warriors. Prepare to take your Lego minifigures to the next level with a whole world of imaginative custom Lego accessories from Brick Warriors. Brick Warriors offers custom Lego-compatible weapons, guns, helmets, armor, and accessories. All Brick Warriors toys fit seamlessly with your Lego minifigures and are made from the same high-quality ABS plastic. Visit them online today at www.brickwarriors.com. This podcast is also sponsored by Ninja Brick. For all the latest Lego leaks, news, and reviews, check out ninjabrick.com. Also, be sure to follow their social media channels, Ninja Brick News, for regular Lego giveaways, and subscribe to their newsletter for exclusive updates. Their independent website has been created as a hub for Lego fans around the globe who want to catch up on all the latest news and reviews. As their website grows, they aim to build a community of fans offering help and tips to other like-minded people who are just as passionate about Lego. So please check out ninjabrick.com. Please help support the Brickfilmers Guild podcast by becoming a patron on our Patreon page. Our Patreon supporters get early access to each podcast along with a few other perks. We'd love it if you would support us there, but either way, our podcast will always be available for free. So, without further ado, here's our conversation with Zach. Good morning, Zach. Thanks so much for joining us this morning. We really appreciate it.
Oh, thank you so much. I'm very glad to be here.
How are you doing over there? How's the weather? Is it nice and warm?
It's actually looking like a pretty nice day out today. It's been sort of intermittently overcast or sunny. It looks like we landed on sunny.
Cool.
Nice. Good for you. Yeah, we're still warm here, sadly.
Very nice.
I'm still waiting for winter, but, you know.
Oh,
anyway.
Yeah. Is coming, I promise.
Really? Okay, I'm going to hold you to that.
Or so they tell me.
All right. Well, fingers crossed. First, I also want to thank you for judging the 2016 BFG Film Festival. We really appreciate you taking the time to watch all those amazing videos.
Oh, yes, of course. Actually, it was my pleasure. My pleasure. Absolutely. It was really a lot of fun getting just to kind of go through that list. I haven't really sat down and watched that many brick films in sequence in a long time. So that was kind of cool to get to do that. And there was some really, really incredible stuff among the list of contenders. Yeah,
we've been really lucky. We get so many amazing brick films. It's really hard to choose. I'm glad that I don't have to be one of the judges. So because I was having a hard time choosing myself. I'm like, no. So I was like, okay, I got to just take myself out. I was getting too attached. And
do you guys not? You guys are just the organizers. You don't do judging on your own. You're sort of the neutral.
Dave judges, but I had to take myself out of the judging.
Oh, I see.
I also judge all the non-official categories, like best Star Wars or whatnot.
Are those community voted? Because I know there's the best film with the BFG logo in it, and I know you guys have a few genre.
I judge that one also, but all the official categories are judged by the 5 judges, and I'm one of those judges.
Mm-hmm. And you narrow them down, don't you?
I narrow them down, although I didn't do a good job this year, so there was still around the 50-some or 60 or whatever. But I try to narrow down. Say if we were to get an 80. I would probably want to get it to around 50 or 60. But I try not to cut it because I want the judges to see everything because they might see something I don't see and shouldn't have cut.
Mm-hmm. That reminds me of when Nate and I were trying to get the Bricks in Motion Awards off the ground for a couple of years, and just sort of some of the managerial headaches that came with that, so I can sympathize.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I will sometimes be a tiebreaker on something that Dave, judges by himself, and I'm happy doing that. Mm-hmm. But otherwise, I guess I get attached to things, and So it's hard for me,
But ever since we started with the panel of judges, I haven't been let down by any of the judges that have participated. Everybody has pretty much been everybody was judging things about the same. There was the differences between a few, but for the most part, having 5 judges and all the scores tally up, I felt gives us a pretty good idea of what the winner should be. But I mean, come on, it's art. It's up to, it's.
And I think because all the judges are all brick filmers themselves, it's a lot different. When I look at a brick film, I look at it so much different than the way you guys would. So I look at it more from an artistic and fun and emotional level, whereas you guys look at different things. So I just didn't think it was fair for me to be judging them.
I guess that's probably why it's good to have a panel of like-minded brick filmers, like you said, just because we can all sort of approach looking at films and filmmaking from different perspectives and be able to kind of get a nice like cumulative opinion just on these the cream of the crop of the year, and try and figure out who among them did what best and how and why. And that's kind of the great fun, I think, of just being in a community of filmmakers, that you all get to sort of talk and debate and share and debate opinions on things like that. But it's all, in the service of, filmmaking and film and meriting filmmaking. And I think that's really cool. Absolutely.
I mean, the brick filming community, to me, what's most exciting is that everybody really is like one big family. Do families all get along all the time? No, but but it really is a community, a family. Everybody cares. We're all after the same thing. And any website or any community that promotes the art of what we're all passionate about is just great for everybody. It's a win-win for everybody.
It really is, it's been a ride, kind of getting to be a part of that community for. Oh, good Lord! How long has it been now?
It was 12 for you, I think.
Almost 13. I think 13 years for me now. Wow.
That's a long time.
You sure it's not longer? Because we've had 14th acts, and you did the first one.
Yeah, that's true. Did we skip or no?
You skipped a few, but you've done, I think, 8 of 14 or 10.
I've done a lot of them. Yeah.
We'll get to that more.
I remember my first brick film, I'm pretty sure, was in 2005, and. Yeah, and like January, and we're about to come up on that. So, yeah, it's about to be my 13th anniversary. Holy cow.
Awesome.
What was that film?
That was my riff on The Door. It was probably not exactly age appropriate for, me being 13, but do you guys remember do you guys remember an old brick film called About a Door?
I don't think I saw that.
Okay, well, it's this really, really old film, I think from like 2000, somewhere between 2002 2004, but it's actually one of the most clever premises I've ever seen in anything, really. It's about, okay, so it's like you got your little Lego people in town, they're walking around, and there's this gigantic door on this wall just sort of in the middle of town square, and there's a gigantic sign next to it that says, "Do not open this door." And the people come and they see this, and they're looking at it, and they're trying to decide, what the heck is this thing, or like, what could possibly be behind it, and then it sparks this sort of feud between the conservatives who want to keep it shut and like the liberals who want to open it, and it becomes this sort of interesting like face off between these two sides over whether or not this door should be open. It's a really funny film by a guy named I remember his screen name was Holgor. But it was this really clever film, and it inspired a series of like spin-off or parody movies for a short while, and I guess I kind of jumped in on that trend a little late, but that was the inspiration for my very first film called The Door and Beyond.
Which we did watch.
Now, there's one video not on your site, and I found it through the wiki site. The Croc, was that before or after?
Oh wow, you guys have done your research. Yeah. Oh man, that takes me back. The Croc. Okay.
That was before The Door, right?
I think that was like my second film.
Okay.
I don't remember. Like immediately after The Door, possibly. Okay. I feel like The Door was kind of like my, I don't know, but date like. That was like my first like official film. I feel like that was the first one I like put online and on brickfilms.com and like showed off to the community. Okay. The Croc was like I barely even remember that film. Like, I think it was more of like a test or just like, I mean, I was still young. And
it looked kind of like a test. It was about like the wrong uniform I made, one of my first ones I ever made. It kind of was on like that, although I think you might have achieved a better result than my first one.
But it's fun watching
That's a good watch.
It's awesome.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is kind of fun to go back and watch your old stuff, or well, probably for other people. For me, I always just kind of like sit back and like kind of I have trouble watching it. I just kind of like my old stuff. It's bad.
Well, you kind of got yourself pretty quickly within that first year or two to a really good level of animation, to where your animation, even back in 2006, was really pretty good.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
I think, or maybe it was, you made a Macbeth scene. It was more of a Matrix-style gunfight.
Yeah.
That was sharp.
Thank you.
For as early on, you made a really good film.
I mean,
there.
even your walking was so smooth, even back then. And that is something that's hard for a lot of people to get, even after years. And you just like, smooth. That's all I can say. It's just like, it's just amazing to watch.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. And that one was made for that one was kind of a scramble too, because I made that for that was for a high school project, like a kind of a pretty big high school project, and I didn't even finish the thing. But I'm really glad you guys said that, because that was, I think, my first like real fight scene as well. I don't recall having done like action scenes before that film. But and I was kind of taking a bit of a gamble, because I'm taking like a scene from Macbeth, and I'm trying to do this thing with the Matrix, and I was just like kind of having to bend over backwards, trying to make the themes and make the characters all fit and stuff. But that one, I remember, was a lot of fun, and also a bit stressful, just because it's for a class project, and I'm having to record my parents for voice acting like at midnight the night before it's due and such. But that was a really fun experience, and I'm glad people seem to like that one.
Yeah, it was really good. And one of your real big standouts in your early career was your Laws of Sir Isaac Newton.
Mm-hmm.
Which has 465,000 views right now.
Oh, I haven't checked in a while. That's awesome.
And you did that as for a 9th grade science class?
Yes. I think that was the same year as Macbeth, actually. That was a big year for Brick Films for school projects, apparently. That was for a 9th grade physics 9th grade physics project. And how did that one come about? Because we got to choose how to do our own assignments. We had to do something on Isaac Newton, and I offered to make a film. And I went to a really cool high school where they kind of encouraged doing sort of what's the term, that not like off the wall, but kind of like different or alternative ways of like doing homework assignments, of learning.
That sounds good and creative.
Anyway, but they actively like encouraged that kind of thing. So I came to my teacher and I asked, "Hey, can I do this like stop motion Lego movie?" And I don't know if she knew what to expect, but she said, "Yeah, sure, go for it." And that one was also a bit of a scramble too, because that project was actually 2 weeks overdue. Yeah, that project ended up being like taking 2 weeks longer than needed to be, and my teacher was like kind of like starting to get a little nervous and like asking me like, "Hey Zach, like I know these things take a while, but how's it coming?" I'm like, and I'm just like, trust me, it's gonna be good. I just need another little bit.
You probably put 10 times the amount of work into it as everybody else did.
I might have. I don't know. I was a weird kid, and it was like I was just really driven to like make it and just like make a film about it. I don't know. That's where my head was back then. Everything just needed a film about it.
And tell me you got an A+.
Oh, they really did like it, so I'm pretty sure I got an A on that one.
And I loved your voice. I mean, it was really cute.
Not as cute as Forrest when he was doing it at 13, but it's close.
But it was cute. The higher voice when you hear these people, it's like, oh my gosh, is that him? It's just, you just sound young, but it's cute. I know, cute young though. It's adorable. Going back
to a bygone era. Yeah, it's weird, kind of going back and hearing my old voice, just like that's cute.
It is cute.
And was that put in an animation festival in Oregon?
That was, that and Mirrored Perspective. Yeah, it was funny. Like both of those films got picked up by this like animation festival that happened in Portland. I think it was back in how old was I? 2007, maybe. I think I was like about 16. But yeah, Laws of Isaac Newton and another film I did the following year called Mirrored Perspective. Both of those got selected for like a youth screening at this festival called Platform. It was like this animation festival. I don't know if it exists anymore, but it was cool. I got to come out to Portland and go see my film get screened on a theater-sized screen and meet a lot of industry people, and it was a really cool experience. And Portland's an awesome city too.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I agree with that. It is amazing, beautiful.
You guys ever been?
Once.
And once for me as well, but it was left a huge impression though.
Same here.
It's really neat. It's like a very large small town or a very small large town.
That's a good way of putting it. I hadn't thought of that, but that's almost the perfect way. So, any listeners in Portland, thumbs up on your city. You guys are doing it right.
Totally.
I came very close to wanting to move there.
I said if Portland was on the East Coast, I'd move there in a heartbeat.
Well, there is one, but it's a little colder there.
Well, I'd be okay with that too. But
there is another Portland.
Not to say anything bad about Maine. Maine's pretty cool. I wouldn't mind living there too.
Yeah.
So going back, what is it that got you into brick filming originally?
What has it got me into brick filming? I can actually trace it directly back to a buddy of mine named Paul Conroy. Paul Conroy. So it was back in 2004, I'm pretty sure. Spider-Man 2 had just come out that year. I have a weird way of remembering things. So we're bored one summer afternoon. We're out skateboarding on the cul-de-sac, and we're just kind of looking for stuff to do. And he suggests, why don't we make a movie? And, I say, yeah, that sounds like fun. Let's do it. Now, at this time, we both had video cameras because we like to shoot skateboard videos. We like to do skate videos because we were big skaters at the time. And I thought that's what we were going to be doing. But he goes in, grabs his camera and a stuffed animal and a whole bunch of chess pieces. And I'm a little bit confused, but he, sits me down on the side of me and he explains the process of like, here, we're going to make an animated movie. And he, puts the camera on the concrete, arranges all the pieces as he wants to. And then, he hits the record button on and off as fast as he could, moves it a little bit, hits the record button on and off as fast as he can, the process. And, we just spent the afternoon, just making these little stop motion shorts on the sidewalk. We would talk into the camera to do different voices, and we just make up these stories kind of as we're going along, doing these weird, like, low rent practical effects. And, I think I just fell in love with it. I fell in love with it just that afternoon. We would go on to make like another 3 or 4 of them that summer. And, he, would go, would kind of forget about it. It's like, that was fun. But it was kind of that thing that just, it sort of like woke something up, I guess, right? It was just something I kind of was just constantly thinking about. But how I got into brick filming specifically. So after that summer, a couple of months later, I was browsing on the internet and I stumbled across the Spider-Man 2: The Peril of Doc Ock stop motion short by Spite Your Face. You guys know that one?
We do.
Yes, we do.
Mm-hmm. It's a great film, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, it's absolutely. And especially because this is the first time I'd ever seen Lego done in stop motion with all the cool the animation style was really great. This like the sets and like the number of characters and just the cool visual effects. I remember I was completely blown away by it. I had no idea that like this could be done, and I must have seen the thing at least a dozen times, like the first day I saw it. And I just discovered stop motion, so I'm hyped up and I'm really excited. And then I remember, hey, I have a bunch of old Lego bricks just kind of sitting in my closet collecting dust. I haven't played with these things since I was 8. Maybe I could do something like this. And I guess pretty much from there the rest is history.
Well, now, do you still keep in touch with Paul?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. He's we're still very, very close. In fact, I'm still pretty close with like most of the kids from I grew up on that block. But yeah, he and I are close, and I've told that story a number of times.
Have you skated with him lately?
No, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Skateboarding kind of fell out of fashion, which I was actually really sad about because I really liked it, and I was actually kind of good at it. I mean, for being 9 and 10 years old, or however old we were at the time. But no, we haven't skated together in a while. I mean, I still skateboard once in a while, but I think that era is kind of done.
Yeah, sadly, mine's done too. But you do have me inspired to get my skateboard out every once in a while and try to land a kickflip. And
yeah,
I got to do it before I get too old to do it. My clock's ticking.
Gotta keep practicing, and you'll never get too old.
Yeah.
Every once in a while, I bust out my skateboard to see if I can still do like a tray flip or ride a bull every once in a while.
Yeah, the last time I went out for real, I went to a skate park and I did my wrist a bad job. And,
yeah.
You don't heal as fast.
That's the part you don't miss.
No.
Every time I tell myself, man, this is so great. Like, why did I stop doing it? And then I'll try and do like a varial flip, and then the board will smack into my shin, and I'll be feeling it for the next day and a half.
Yeah.
And then I'm like,
that's why.
That's why. I miss how much fun it was, but I don't miss the injuries.
Yeah, my ankles and knees and wrists don't mind not doing it anymore.
The older you get, the more it hurts, and the longer it hurts.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah. But we did have our days in the sun.
All right, I'm going to give credit to you on your logo, the brain with the maze.
Well, thank you. Unfortunately, I can't take credit for that. That one was a Phil Heinrich original.
Oh, wow. Cool.
Yeah, I was needing a new logo because my old logo was my sig fig, the Lego minifigure, and just MindGame Studios in Arial, like italics.
Mm-hmm.
It's very generic, and I'm like, I need something a little less specific and a little more, I don't know, like official looking, or I don't know. I feel I just needed like a new logo idea, and I had this concept, but I had no idea how to execute it. I told it to Phil, or did he have the idea? I don't remember. But either way, he worked on it for a day, got back to me, and I was like, wow, that's pretty much exactly what I wanted. Thank you.
Well, it is awesome.
Yeah, he did a great job.
Yeah, definitely.
Did a really cool job.
So you have an amazing skill at both animation and sound design.
Thank you.
And we have the Sarah Herman Brickflix book, and you have a whole section in there, which is wonderful. We read that. And it also has a section where you discuss audio for your brick films and creating the sound effects yourself, which I found incredibly interesting.
Thank you.
So any funny stories or what's been the most interesting or hard sound effect that you've had to make? I imagine you've had quite a few.
Yeah, I actually can think of a few stories. Sound and me is an interesting relationship because I love it, but sometimes I really hate it too, just because I have a problem of being like a little bit too, like I try too hard to make things as perfect as they need to be, and that can get me hung up on a project for months, sometimes years on end. I'm still working on the cleaners. I mean, it's very close to being done, but specifically, I still got to do the sound design there. I think the biggest sound effects challenge for me by far was probably The Profession. It's sound design and Foley recording, I think, is a lot of fun just because it forces you to kind of creatively think your way out of a few problems, because some sounds you're not going to have access to, but you can do your best to get there as best you can with the resources you have. So you end up combining certain sound effects, or utilizing a certain something that you wouldn't expect, but it may fit perfectly as like the sound of another thing, or and like I don't admit to being like an expert. There's still quite a bit that I need to learn, but sound, I think, is one of those things that I wish more people would pay attention to. I think specifically among like independent and young filmmakers, because I think sound is kind of just as important to making a film. Like, it's hard to describe, but like making it stick, making it feel like there's like a certain satisfaction that comes with like when the audio, when the sound can properly support the visuals, and I've seen a number of films that were great, but otherwise just like something was missing, and it was because I think some of the sound effects or just like the sound design in general could have maybe taken another pass, or just something about it just didn't kind of hit you where it's supposed to, you know.
I think maybe some people just don't think about that. They don't think about the sound effects that you can add yourself, and a lot of them quite easily, and what a huge impact that would have on a film. I think it's maybe just not out there enough.
Yeah, perhaps. And sound can get really, really technical, and it can be really kind of confusing. Like there's still quite a bit I don't know about it myself. Like as far as like the mixing procedures and like how to like simulate like reverb and environments and such, or how to like mix in like 5.1. But anyway, getting back to the topic, probably the most challenging sound adventure, I guess, was On the Profession. And that was a really interesting film because it took about 3 years to do. 3 or 4, I can't remember. I'm pretty sure it was 3. But the sound itself took roughly about as long as the film, as like the animation process did, which was kind of unprecedented for me. Because that's one where I tried to do my sound effects as 100% original as I could, and specifically when it comes to like the fight scene. And I took a lot of inspiration from like what Kashen was doing with his Lego fight scenes, because he always has really, really good sound design. If you've seen his movies, as I know you all have.
Well, of course, yeah.
Of course, and also I took a lot of inspiration from specifically that the Bourne Ultimatum scene he did, and just kind of the Bourne movies in general for how sound was utilized and how it was created to effectively build up the intensity. So there's a lot of, it's less reliant on like music and like, kind of your typical classic, Indiana Jones style, whoosh, punch sound effects. It was a lot more like grounded and gritty. There's, you hear like the, groans of them, fighting, the clothes rustling, and like the impacts themselves. They need to have a bit more of like that kind of fleshy tone, like that fleshy quality to it, I guess. And that was tough because I feel like I'm rambling, but anyway.
Yeah, we love this.
Okay. That was tough to figure out because I had to use, I remember using a lot of different materials to try and get it. And, I'm not 100% satisfied with what I came up with, but it was close, and I was able to kind of work with that. But I remember I did a lot of things. Like I would punch pillows. I would punch pillows with pieces of paper on them, or like a wet towel. I think I would like smack like a wet towel on like a wall, or like a wooden table or something, to try and get like different variations of like fleshy or kind of like wet punch sound effects.
That's a good idea.
And like you end up having to kind of combine a lot of them too. And then it also like the clothing rustles, that was also kind of tough because there's a fine line between, like when you look at like a waveform on like your computer, there's a fine line between, and I was using a kind of a low rent quality mic at the time, so there's a fine line between what sounds like clothes and stuff being rustled under a mic versus that kind of scratchy, apologies in advance, but that kind of like scratchy sound that microphones make when you're just doing when you're just sort of messing around with it. So it was hard, like trying to record certain Foley and make it and kind of make it sound good. And that's probably more than anything what took the vast majority of post-production time on The Profession, was specifically just that fight scene. I really took my time with that one. And there were a lot of times where I very nearly gave up just because it wasn't coming together. I had this vision for it, and I couldn't quite get it there. But after enough tinkering with it, I eventually settled on something that I was happy enough with to show off, I guess.
Yeah, no, it was fantastic, and the fight scene was incredibly real. I mean, you forget that you're looking at Lego minifigures.
Thank you so much.
It goes right into realistic, and had a very Keshen-esque feel to it. Is that, you had special thanks to Keshen at the end. Was Was he actually helping you personally, or was it just because of his style and you were...
Pretty much, I mean, just because of the style. I don't recall if I asked him for any pointers. And I think he lent me a few sound effects because I was struggling with them pretty bad. And he lent me a couple of like some of his fight sound effects, and they were a really, really big help. But also because I probably watched the Lego Ultimatum like 150 times during the production of Profession. So I have to credit him with some of it.
And was that do you have a brother that does music?
Yeah, I have an older brother. Yeah, he and our good buddy Brett, they did the music on The Profession, and I was really, really pleased with how it turned out. I thought they came up with like a really cool theme, and I thought like I gave them basically kind of control over how to direct like the use of music throughout it, and I thought they did a really good job.
Has he done other ones? Any of your other films?
I want to say yes. I think more like, I don't know. My brother was like a music supervisor on one of the films I did, and he got our friend Brett to do the music, and I think it was an original piece by our friend Brett, and my brother found it and was kind of able to help, and so was able to help kind of. He had like an idea for how to use this music. He saw my film. He's like, I have like the perfect song for it. And he got me this song, and he kind of said like, okay, this is what I was thinking. Like this can go here, and then this can go here, and we have a bit of silence between that. I do not remember which film it was, unfortunately, but my brother has been involved with a couple of my films on the music side of things before.
That's awesome.
Cool. And just one last thing on sound and audio. One of the things I've noticed by watching, I got to watch all of your films in the last day or two, was your use of silence. Kind of the awkward pause silence.
Pauses, yeah.
From like, are you talking like my earlier era of
might have
Brickfilming?
been, but several of them used it, and it just was like they fit perfectly. The actual use of no audio was.
Thank you. You're very kind. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but no. You're very kind. Thank you. Those are actually the films I have the most trouble kind of rewatching, just because. I think I was in a phase where I loved that concept of the awkward, like kind of that awkward, person-on-person silence. But like in retrospect, I'm like, oh, Zach, what were you thinking? Just because I think like the timing is so awkward that like kind of goes beyond being funny and just kind of gets a little like, I don't know. I'm harsh on myself, but I think I could have tightened up some of those pauses a little bit. I'm glad that you like the use of the pause there, but I mean, I personally wouldn't say it's the best jokes I've ever come up with, but yeah, I mean the sound, it's not about making like the most intense and the most like technically intricate sound. Sometimes it's just the utilization of like what soundscape is best for the scene, and sometimes nothing. Right. Is what works, I guess.
And details. It's all in the details, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Absolutely. And sometimes it's the little stuff like you don't even think of, like maybe even something happening off screen, or just like a little detail to help kind of push the visuals. Like somebody may put their keys down on a table, but you don't actually see them, but you hear the sound of like it clanking on the table or something, and that helps tell a story.
And that's the thing there, is that you don't think about putting that little sound effect in, but going the extra mile and adding that adds so much more to the film, and that,
Texture,
yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, but yeah, I really did like my awkward pauses for a little while.
Hey, it all builds up to what you're doing now. It's all relative, and I mean, and it's all enjoyable,
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that, and I'm happy with kind of where I've come, I guess, as an animator and as a brick filmer, I suppose.
Your growth. No, I mean, I still wonder how nowadays, you have all these tutorials on, walking and doing other things, and how you were able to get your walking so smooth when you first started. I have no idea.
I don't either, because I, like most animators, I absolutely despise walk cycles. I hate them so much. I hate them. They're the worst. But I mean, it's one of those necessary evils you kind of just gotta, put up with. And I can't even really say I do anything differently than other people. Like most of the time, like I don't have like at this point in my career, I guess is what you would think. I guess you say that, but I don't really have like one specific walk style that I use. For me, it's like very situational, but like the basic mechanics are all still there.
Yeah. I think our daughter's still doing the jumping, the jump walks.
Like where like the legs aren't really moving,
right?
Well, I mean, you got to start somewhere, right? But yeah, no, I mean, I don't really do anything differently from most other animators. It's your basic, legs together, one leg up, in between the studs for like 2 or 3 frames, and then land, and then repeat, but just on the opposite foot. I guess just what I did is I just spent an agonizingly long time just trying to get them as straight as possible.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it works. It works.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that, because the hardest thing I think about a walk cycle, specifically with a minifig, are those little in-betweener studs where they have to like kind of balance like on like in like not on their feet, but like kind of in like yeah, and like even when you can get them to stand upright, sometimes what I notice is like they will be leaning to one side kind of awkwardly, and then like when you try to fix that, they'll either like fall over or start leaning awkwardly to the other side. And it's just, I remember sometimes like a single frame might take me 15 or 20 minutes just because I'm busy pulling my hair out over this damn thing that just won't stand up straight. And then I eventually decide to get a little piece of tack and say I should have done that.
Excellent.
So where did you go to college?
I went to college. I went to UCLA.
And you're from the Bay Area, correct?
And I currently am in the Bay Area,
okay,
as a matter of fact.
A little bit of a haul down there.
Little bit, yeah. Yeah, living in Los Angeles, I got very familiar with driving the I-5 up and down the state. I must have done at least a dozen or 2 times in my life so far, but no, LA or UCLA was great. I mean, it's a really great campus. We're in a nice part of town. I studied design, media arts, and in a way, I almost kind of went to college just to kind of reaffirm that I'm pretty good at stop motion. I probably should pursue that in some capacity, but it was still like a really cool experience, and I got to meet a lot of really interesting people, including that's kind of where I started first meeting Brickfilmers like in person. Was down in LA. The first Brickfilmer I met, was Doug Vandegrift.
Okay. Oh yeah, okay.
Yeah, he's the guy who did like America Outlawed and the Pirates movie, or the 2 feature length Brick films. I met him. Garrett Barati. I met him at like an AFOL meetup. And then I met Forrest and Sean, and then soon after that was Paul and Paul Hollingsworth and Brian Hines, and it just kind of became this cool little hub where I just all these people whom I'd known as a name online, I suddenly could put a face to it, and that was just a really cool, surreal experience.
Yeah, it is neat that you guys all get to definitely work together and hang out.
Have you gotten to hang out with Chris down there, Chris Salias?
Chris Salias, I met him the last time. I met him the last time I went down. Yeah.
Oh,
which was back in June. I was down in Los Angeles for E3, and I got to hang out with I got to meet Chris and we got to hang out at Paul's place. It was a lot of fun, and me, him, and Chris, Forrest, and Sean, and a bunch of other cool people.
The brick filming power in that room.
I know, right?
Exactly. I think there's a picture on Facebook or something and I think it's captioned like, look, like how many brick filmers can you stuff into one house or something like that. But it was actually kind of funny. Yeah, I went to college really kind of with the intent to like, okay, like, this is my first steps into the real world. I mean, it's college, not the real world, but you get my point. This is my first step into, I'm really gonna discover myself. I'm gonna discover my passion. I'm gonna, find what creative, cool thing I want to do, and do for the rest of my life, or however long I can for. And it was funny because, I've been like in the arts, and I've been like in the creative field pretty much as long as I can remember, but there wasn't a whole lot in that major that I actually really gravitated towards, like the drawing and like form stuff. All the basic stuff was fun, but we had like typography. I wasn't into that. I'm a terrible graphic designer, and I hate doing it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't. Yeah, and it's like game design. Game design, ironically enough, I thought was really challenging, and I didn't know if I was kind of like maybe that's not for me, but I'll get into that later.
Mm-hmm.
But I remember I did gravitate towards the more video animation and like motion graphics classes. That shouldn't be too much of a surprise. But
right.
Yeah, and then I remember my senior project. I was struggling. I chose to do a senior project in video and animation. I was struggling to come up with an idea, and then I just figured, screw it. Maybe I should just make a brick film for it. See what's up. And then, so I did that, and I remember I was living in an apartment, and I kind of took our living room table for a couple few days, and I shot this stop motion piece kind of at nights when I could get when I can get the lighting the way I needed it to, and I ended up making Teddy.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So Teddy ended up being my final project, and it was probably some of the highest marks I've ever gotten on anything in my major before, in all 4 years. And I looked at the project, and I kind of saw what I saw it and saw the reception. I'm like, well, 4 years later, I guess I'm pretty good at brick filming. Maybe I should just stick with that, I guess. Thanks UCLA.
And thanks brick filming. Obviously, it helped you a lot in college.
And did it help you actually to get into the program, showing any of your past work, or just
to be honest, I'm pretty sure I got into college from my brick filming, and I'm pretty sure it got me my job, and I'm pretty sure brick filming also got me my job. Yeah.
Well, that's cool. Cool.
No, because straight up, in my portfolio, I have just a couple of drawings that we were supposed to submit. But the bulk of it was just video clips from my films. Like I submitted stuff from Isaac Newton, from Mirror Perspective, and just kind of some of the other stuff I've been working on. But my portfolio was mostly brick films, and I got in there. And when I interviewed at Telltale, most of my interview questions was about my brick filming process. So in a way, yeah, brick filming is kind of paved the way for me for the last few years, which has been kind of funny.
I think it's awesome. Yeah.
And let's see, did you trademark MindGame?
Yeah, I did. I did. That I was still in high school, and and MindGame Studios, was relatively successful. I think that was kind of in the earlier days of YouTube, and I kind of randomly and sort of miraculously, well, at the time, I'm quoting here, quote unquote, blew up a bit. I got a little popular, and that was kind of when brick filming started to become a real thing for me, as opposed to just I think this is some kind of fun I do it in my parents' computer room for a couple of weeks at a time. Then I started actually earning money off of YouTube, and started getting a few offers for official commissioned work and such. And I don't know, it just seemed like a good idea to do. And my dad is a lawyer, and at the time worked closely with a copyright and trademark lawyer, and kind of put that idea in my head. And I was like, you know what, that actually sounds kind of cool. And got the paperwork filed, and then eventually got it trademarked.
So it helps to have a lawyer in the family to help out with the process.
It does a little bit. I mean, it probably wasn't entirely necessary, but it was still kind of cool. So
I think it's very cool.
Yeah, definitely cool.
Well, thank you.
If your dad wants to go down that road again, we'll be happy to.
I can put you guys in contact, or I'll put you in contact with my attorney, and then
we'll have my people call your people. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. Exactly.
So you have kind of what appears to be sort of a tight relationship with Nathan Wells. You've worked a lot of things with him. I think you did something originally a long time ago called Feel Great.
Yeah, Feel Great.
And then
I think that was our first collab. I mean, our first one where we split the animation dues. We had voice acted for each other before, but that was our first real collaborative production together, and that was all done online too, which was cool.
He lives what, about 2 or 3 hours up the coast from you?
Oh, more than that. It's more like a 5 or 6 hour drive.
He practically lives in Oregon.
Yeah, almost. Eureka is way the heck up there.
Yeah.
I mean, I say I'm from NorCal, but he is NorCal.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. So he's about 5 or 6 hours away. Then my friends down in LA are about 5 to 6 hours away. So I'm kind of stuck in the middle between the two hubs, I guess.
So does he come to you then when you guys work? Do you take turns?
I usually go to him because Nate's got the Lego and he also has like the space for it, which I don't really quite have. Well, I mean, or at least he has more of than both of what I have.
Yeah, he's really, really good at his scenic Lego skills, basically, and which really showed up in the Bricks in Motion stop motion. I believe he do all that scenic work in that.
Oh, I mean that's the reason why I keep him around. But Nate is one of the best set designers I know of. Every one of his films, the art direction and just like the production design it's always pretty much flawless. Like some of the most like creative, just like set design and prop design I think I've ever seen. Like if I ever need an idea for how to build something or to help design, like I said, he's like my go-to guy pretty much. And also I mean, he designed the sets on the film we're working on, the cleaners. We did and even beyond Lego, we worked on a stop motion short for the Rogue One video contest. Was that last year? Or 2 years ago. I think it was about a year ago. But that was a non-Lego project using action figures. But Nate was still Nate and his girlfriend Danielle were like our principal set designers and dressers, and I thought they looked great, but it was a completely different medium. It was like foam core and plastic and metal, and we'd never undertaken anything like that before. But there were lights inside of it, and they were like props, and it was like wow, like it's not just Lego. Like you've got a gift for this, my man.
Mm-hmm. Now, how'd you do the water on the beach?
The water in Rogue Unit. Mm-hmm. Oh, that was hair gel.
Hair gel.
Yeah, that was a really interesting shot. I think that one took me about 2 days to get through because, good Lord, that stuff was a mess.
I can imagine.
Really, really messy to work with, but I'm really pleased with how the effect turned out. And I think we have 2 water shots in there, and both of them were pretty tough. Were pretty tough to kind of do, but you do sort of figure out a way to animate the hair gel because it's gelatinous enough that it can hold a shape for a reasonable amount of time before you got to take the frame. So that was, we didn't really know how we were going to do the water effect. That was just kind of like a last minute solution that ended up just sort of working out for us.
And what about the oil or whatever grease came out of the droid?
Oh, like that came out of K2. Yeah. What was that? Oh, that was molasses.
Yeah, I loved that video.
Molasses that Nate would blow out of a straw every frame. I mean, just slowly adding like a drop or two here and there out of like an eyedropper or like a straw, just to kind of try and animate it pouring out. And he was in charge of doing that because I kind of left him in charge of practical, like figuring out the practical effects like that.
Well, I'd hate to be the one cleaning all that stuff after.
That was not fun.
And speaking of cleaners, when will cleaners come out?
Whenever I get off of my lazy butt and finish the sound design, and Nate and I finish some visual effects, but we want to have it out before the end of the year.
Yeah, we're hoping it's out before the end of the year.
We're desperate to because we want to submit it to BFG, and we just want this thing. At this point, we just want it done. Like we're really really proud of it, and we both think we're really happy with how it looks and how it turned out. We just need to get it across the finish line, but we're very, very nearly there.
Well, we're very excited to see it. So
yeah, but yeah, Nate and I, we've been basically like brick filming buddies and partners since like 2007, 2008, somewhere around there. I'm trying to remember when his first film came out, but when he was still Lord of the Lego.
Mm-hmm.
But
didn't y'all have your like a collab YouTube channel?
We did for a very, very short New York minute. Yeah, we did. I mean, it still exists, but we haven't used it in years.
I don't even think I could find it.
It's called MindGame One Brick, and I think the only thing we ever uploaded was a trailer for a now defunct collaboration that we never. It was going to be a Ben and Andy, Alex and Derek mashup film but we never ended up finishing it for whatever reason. I don't even remember anymore.
That's
and you've also done some collabs with some other folks and companies. I guess first one up I have here is the Star Wars The Force Awakens trailer. You worked with Philip?
Yeah, we worked with Phil Heinrich on that one. Yeah, that was an interesting experience. It was fun and it was rewarding. And it was cool to work with him because Phil knows what he's doing, especially with like the VFX work and just figuring out the logistics of some things. But it was also a little intense because we basically had to kind of rush ourselves to get through that. And sometimes when you have two very strong collaborative personalities, you can butt heads on things sometimes. But we made it work. But that was like the first like collaboration where I don't know how Phil sees it, but like I feel like I was kind of driving the train a little bit on that one. So that was kind of a cool experience. But I did pretty much the animation on it, and then would send those files over to Phil, unprocessed, with the exception of the digital faces. I was in charge of doing those. But then Phil would basically do all like the compositing work. Mm-hmm. Like he had the idea on how to do like the BB-8 shot, how to do the X-wings, and and I thought it came together really, really well, and I was really, really proud of that final product.
The last shot there of the Millennium Falcon, how was that? Was that CG?
That was all CG. Okay, yeah, I wish I could say that was practical, but that would have been nigh on impossible for the resources and the time we had. So we just decided to go full CG for that one.
Well, there were about a dozen other versions of that from other Brickfilmers on YouTube, and I definitely think yours was one of the top two, if not the best one that came out.
I appreciate that. Thank you. Yeah. I
think the other Zach did the other one that was good.
Oh, Zach FB, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I know all these people.
We all know each other. Yeah.
even when I don't know them, you still know them.
You know them, yeah. We all know each other.
Yeah. I have Zach Boyven on Facebook, so I should say I kind of know him, although I don't. But anyway, back to the point. It was like that's the thing with trying to do like trailer recreations of something that's like really big and popular. If you're gonna do it in Lego, you can expect that somebody will have done it within at least the first 48 hours. Chances are it's probably not going to be very good, but we're sort of unfortunately in the age where it's not where I feel like it's less important who does it the best, but more who gets there first.
Right.
Yeah. And, there is a Force Awakens trailer on YouTube, a Lego one, and it's like, it was the first one out within like 24 hours. It's got the most hits. It got, the most, I'm going to sound really bitter and I don't mean to, but it's got the most hits, but it looks like it was something that was produced in about, 2 or 3 hours. Right. And and no disrespect to the person who made it. I guess after I just disrespected your film, but no hard feelings there, but like you get what I'm saying though. It's like,
right. Well, they get the word. The early bird gets the worm.
Hey, they got the views.
The early bird gets the word and reaps the benefits. I don't want to sound bitter now, but long story short, Phil and I realized that we're not gonna stake that claim. There's absolutely no chance there's absolutely no chance we're gonna be the first, but maybe we can at least try to be, one of the better ones. So, but like, within a reasonable amount of time, because we didn't want to wait too long, because then interest would drop off considerably. But we still wanted to push ourselves and like really kind of see like, okay, we're both pretty good at what we do. Like let's really see what we can do together.
Yes, yes.
And
obviously it worked out well. So you didn't get the most views, but you got the best one out there. So
you've gone back.
You can be proud of that.
Well, I like to be proud of it. I prefer to not be the judge of whether or not it's the best one, but I will say that I am really proud of that one. I'm really, really pleased with how it turned out.
And you should be.
Absolutely.
Awesome.
Yeah, funny story for when you for Telltale later on down the line when we come to that segment or whatever.
Cool.
Okay, and you also did a few of the scenes from the Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 teaser trailer.
Oh yeah. That was a little project with the Animators Collective. Mm-hmm. And in fact, I worked with them also, or most of them, on the Rogue One trailer recreation as well. But yeah, most recently was the Guardians of the Galaxy clip. That one was interesting because the idea for that one was posited. Oh, when did the first Guardians teaser drop? That was like back in 2016 at some point. Was that like in the summer of I don't even remember, but it was James posited that idea for a while, and I think we just sort of sat on it for like months on end, and I don't really know how much progress was actually getting made. We had like a little Google sheet, and a few shots were done, but nothing was really happening until a week before, like a week and a half before the movie itself was supposed to come out, and then we all remembered oh wait, we're working on this. We got to get this done. And I didn't even own any Guardians of the Galaxy Lego sets at that time, so I was scrambling just to order characters off of Bricklink and whatnot. But yeah, and then I think I have an issue where sometimes I tend to procrastinate to sort of force myself to do something, and I think I was kind of daunted by some of the shots I chose to do because I realized they were going to be a lot more complicated than I initially envisioned them to be. But that's sort of the fun thing with kind of deadlines and sort of being forced into a corner by them, is that you end up, well, it's either do or die, and when you're in that situation, you start kind of coming up with creative solutions to problems you may not have thought of before, because you had all this time but you still felt overwhelmed. So now you're on the clock and you got to get something. So get something done.
Well, I watched your behind the scenes for that, and I liked how you the little Groot. You used a police officer, and that was cut out with masking and a blue screen. Did you choose the police officer because he was blue, or is just the Lego that was around that could hold Groot?
Yeah, actually, funny story. I didn't shoot the plate with Groot because at the time, the trailer was due the next day, and I didn't have that baby Groot piece. I ordered it on Bricklink, but it showed up a day late. It showed up literally the day after the trailer dropped. But I went to James. I'm like, hey, we got a problem. I don't have this piece, and I need it for the scene. And so James was like, oh, it's cool. I got you covered. And he went and shot this real quick 5 or 6 frame plate of baby Groot, on that blue screen with the blue cup. I'm guessing that was just to make my life a lot easier. But yeah, I ended up, and he sends me this footage. I'm like, dude, you're a lifesaver. Thank you so much. And yeah, it was really quick too. It was only like maybe 5 frames tops. But yeah, just in After Effects, I would just cut around the police officer, make sort of a general shape around Groot, and then yeah, just blue screened him in, and then keyframed him into position, and then color corrected him, and it ended up working out just fine.
Excellent.
Yeah, that was a fun one to work on, because that was probably the most VFX intensive stuff I've done in years, and it was really cool kind of getting to do that, but also getting to do the behind the scenes stuff. I want to do more stuff like that if I have any projects down the line.
Mm-hmm. And
behind the scenes is always cool to watch too, for lots of reasons. So
I agree.
And you also did some collab type work with the Mad Men. You did a couple of clips on that.
Oh yeah. So as you probably know, Mad Men, the TV series Mad Men ended a few years ago. I don't know how long it's been, but to commemorate the series and its final season and its legacy, they had a fan edit of the pilot episode of Mad Men, Smoke Gets in Your Eyes, and they were asking people on the internet to just select a scene from the show to recreate in any format, any style that you want, and it was going to be just like this big kind of community collaborative thing. And I'm a huge fan of Mad Men, if you couldn't tell by the the Breaking Bad Mad Men fan film I did a few years back. But and I did it. I made a brick film about Breaking Bad and Mad Men. That just sounds so weird saying it out loud. But anyway, so I chose a scene, and I did a little Lego recreation, and I submitted it. And it was actually kind of funny. They got back to me like a couple of weeks later, and they actually said, we really liked your clip. Would you be interested in possibly doing another one? Because we still have a few slots open.
Oh, awesome!
Yeah, so I ended up doing 2 scenes for that thing. But yeah, that was really cool to kind of get to be a part of the Mad Men fan cut. I mean, I don't know if like anybody really saw it, but it was a lot of fun. It was kind of a fun way to kind of get to say goodbye to that series in my own way, and just kind of show, or just kind of like be appreciative of it. Or, well, I don't know. All I know is I'm also a really big fan of recreating scenes in Lego. So that was also, I got to kind of scratch that itch a little bit too.
Yeah.
And specifically,
and I happen to like it because I got to voice in it.
You did, yeah. You were my Betty Draper.
So that was cool for me too.
Oh, I'm glad to hear that. I'm really glad to hear that. But yeah, no, that was actually a lot of fun because the first clip actually utilizes, it's almost like a slow motion scene. So that was interesting to try and do in Lego, because I didn't want to like do any like post processing slow motion, so I just had to animate characters really slowly. And then that second shot, the one that you're in, Kim, has this camera movement that's in it through like the entire thing. It's just really slow, very deliberate tracking shot. And the first time I shot it, I didn't have any camera movement equipment, I didn't have like a slider or the what's that tripod head I have? I don't remember. But anyway, so the way I was doing camera movements was I was either very, very carefully moving my tripod or moving the set like towards the camera. And I had a limited window of space just because the camera would eventually bump into the set. So I had a kind of a limited narrow of space to like get this camera movement to work. So I ended up having to shoot that scene twice, because the first time it ended up going too fast, and I got about halfway through the shot before I hit the end of the line. And the camera movement was completely ruined because I didn't time it out properly, and I still had 100 or so frames to get through. So that was kind of crushing.
Wow.
I hate when I do that.
Yeah, it's no fun having to go back and reshoot something.
So were you on a time crunch? I mean, it was awesome that they asked you to shoot some more scenes. So was it like a limited amount of time? Like we need to have it within a week or 2 weeks or whatever?
I think so. I seem to recall they like wanted it by a certain date. I don't remember specifically though.
Well, awesome that you were a part of that, and especially for you being such a big fan. So
it was a really cool opportunity.
Now,
something else for your resume.
That's true. I hadn't thought of that.
Now, one of the biggest collabs you've done, it probably is one of my favorite brick films ever made. It's the Zeus and Thor epic rap battles.
Yeah, the epic rap battle history.
Gosh. That's just from top to bottom, from scenic design all the way up to post production. Just it's spot on.
Mm-hmm. I gotta give it up to Forrest and Sean for that one. Sean was our storyboard artist, and I don't know if there's anywhere online where you can see like the storyboards for that we would submit to ERB. But I mean, Sean absolutely knocked it out of the park. And Forrest is a wizard with Forrest is a wizard with like the After Effects, and like it's like I've learned so much just from like watching and observing him. And yeah, like you said, I thought the look and scenic design of that epic rap battle was amazing. Like the visual effects and just some of the things he would come up with was was, I was completely blown away. And, we had some really good, cool help with like the set design. I mean, I came on pretty much as just an animator. Like I didn't do any post-production stuff. I vaguely helped out with some of the sets, but by the time I was there, they were all pretty much constructed anyway. Most of them were mostly constructed anyway. So I pretty much just got to just kind of let these magicians do their magic, and then I would get to have my part later on. But working on ERB was one of my favorite brick filming experiences. That was the first time I had really gotten to like collaborate with Forrest and Sean, and it was also like the first time I'd gotten to like live in LA since graduating from college, and just kind of live on like my friend's couch for a little while. That's a fun experience. I think that's a fun experience to have when you're in your 20s like that.
Right,
but
been there, done it.
But no, it was really cool because so how long did that take? I think the shooting on that was about a month, maybe a little longer, because when I got in, they had already started shooting most of it. And I remember, I think in total, I worked for about 3 weeks. I lived at their place for about 3 weeks. There was 1 week in between those 3 weeks where I actually left I left for a little bit because production coincided directly with the production of the documentary we were working on at the time, Bricks in Motion. And it worked out kind of perfectly because I was living with Forrest and Sean, working with them, and then Phil and then the crew came into LA and I picked them up, and then we did an interview with Forrest and Sean, and then I was able to depart with the crew from LA and then travel along the coast, hit the interviews we were supposed to, and then I dropped them off in the Bay Area. I hung out at home for another couple of days and then flew back out to Los Angeles, and I just kind of picked up where I left off and just went back to kind of crashed on their couch for the next couple of weeks, and we hammered out ERB. It was very kind of a cool sort of it felt kind of like very like vagabondy kind of, because I was just sort of this traveler, and I was just in my car, just kind of not staying in one place for more than on the documentary. It was cool because we were not staying in one place for more than a couple of days, just kind of roughing it out with a crew. And then I turned around, come back to LA, and I just crashing on a couch, just playing Xbox with some friends, and also working on this really cool collaborative stop motion film for Epic Rap Battles of History. So it was kind of a little bit of paradise, I guess.
Yeah, and huge learning experience getting to work with such amazing talent. You learn
absolutely.
So much from each other.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I don't think you can learn any more than when you're actually watching them and working with them. I mean, that's the best experience ever.
Mm-hmm. And frankly, like that experience of working with them had kind of opened my eyes to the possibilities and just the general necessity of collaborating, of like working with other people, especially on projects like this, because I feel like brick filming, because the brick filming community, it's all or so much of it is online, it tends to be seen as kind of this, or it tends to be this very isolated art form, in the sense that generally most of the time, like the individual is responsible for every aspect of production, from like writing the thing to the animation, to the set design, visual effects, cinematography, lighting, sound, post, all that stuff you generally have do more or less on your own, because it's hard to collaborate with people online. And I was like that way for many years now. I was almost kind of an isolationist in that sense, because I wanted to be the master of my own creations. But working with them, and having so much of the stress of all that kind of taken off you, while also sort of abdicating a lot of those jobs to people that are infinitely more talented than you are, and like at that particular thing, and then letting them kind of do their own magic, to help enhance what you're working on. And and that's I mean, everyone's at the top of their game, and they're working to kind of help push each other, and then you end up making a final product that's 10 times better than what you could have come up with if you were just trying to do everything yourself.
And a lot more enjoyable too. I mean, it's just magic. It just ends up being magic.
Oh yeah, exactly. And just you just get to you get to share in like the highs and the lows of filmmaking, but just with a few friends, and even like when it's good, it's good, and when it gets bad, you can just take a break and go out and see a movie, or go play some video games or something. But you're with people you like hanging out with. So
yeah, because brick filming is very solitary. So being able to work with other people and share it is just would be really nice for us if it could ever happen. But definitely can see the benefits so much so. And obviously in the results too.
Yeah. I don't mean to sound like I'm like thumbing my nose or being like nah like I got to collaborate. I'm not trying to do that.
Oh no, we love it. I mean, if we're the ones that are far out in the jungle and nobody ever comes over here. But if we ever had the opportunity, oh my gosh, absolutely, it would be so much fun.
The monkeys out in the jungle.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
But I mean, you guys are some of the more prolific voice actors in the brick filming community. So you got that going for you.
Yeah, I think it's only me just because I'm a girl and there's very few girls. I think that's the only reason. But I'll take whatever I can get.
Well, touche. But you're the go-to, and we all love you, Kim.
Oh, well, thank you. I appreciate that.
And you too, Dave.
Oh, thanks. So, if we could kind of move on here, before we run out of time, you did a couple collabs with School of Life.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And what there was Keep Going, and there was No One Is Normal.
On Being Normal. On Being Normal was weird. I'm happy for the opportunity, and I'm happy for the job, but working on that one was a little. I don't really know how I feel about that one. Although Keep Going, I'm actually still very, very proud of. Like, I think that is I think it's one of my favorite things I think I've worked on.
Well, there's some shots and effects that I really liked in those. The one where it was in Keep Going, where the person gets out of the bed and they pretty much bounce out of bed to the doorway. Mm-hmm. That was probably one of my favorite walk cycles I've ever seen. It's just so light on his feet.
Well, thank you. Yeah, I wanted to give him. I think I had just seen the Lego Movie at the time, and I remember some of like the early scenes when Emmett was waking up, and there was this like way they animated it that like I hadn't really seen before, and almost was kind of averse to, because I have this style where I tend to be very, I don't know how to describe, like, I guess I tend to like try to mimic real life as much as I can. So I guess I have more of like a realistic style, and I don't tend to stray. I don't tend to animate more cartoony. I think I tend to go more true to life. But I remember like some of like the early scenes of like Emmett waking up, and remember like when he's like jumping up after doing like his exercise, he's like, "I am so pumped up," and I remember like I was just kind of going through that frame by frame, and he like jumps up a couple of times, but it's a very cartoony looking jump, and I realized going through frame by frame, like there's like it's almost intentionally kind of herky jerky, but like to comic effect, and I had never really thought about doing that in my own films, just because I always kind of equated that with like, I don't know, being like lazy or like not like taking the time to try and like do it realistically. But I think that was more like just like more of like a lack of insight on my own part. But anyway, I saw the Lego Movie, and I saw like just kind of how they animated like characters being happy and kind of bouncy, and I wanted to give that a shot, I guess.
Well, it was really cool. And another thing that stood out was a couple of transitions you made from like a wide expanse to a shot in the park. Mm-hmm. And then there's another one where I guess it's the shot in the park, then it goes to him in bed. It was just focused on the face, but it was just some really cool transitions. And
Thank you.
Were those difficult to create?
Yeah. Okay. How did I do that? So I think I sort of did the old classic where I did that shot twice and then just kind of superimposed them at the same time. I think. What did I do? I must have rigged. I'm pretty sure what I did is I built a rig to my camera, from my camera to the character, so that he could remain consistent in the middle and kind of the same distance.
Okay.
So So yeah, I had the character on a rig, and then I had to animate the camera doing this weird like Z-axis tilt, and because I wanted the camera to follow the character and like how can I describe this? Hang on a second. So I had the character rigged up to the camera, and I basically had to animate doing this kind of goofy tilt, and I had to do it twice. Once in the park, and then once in the bedroom.
Well, it worked out.
And it was just a matter of just like trying of just kind of eyeballing it and just trying to get the when I superimpose those two shots together, trying to make it as as seamless as I could. And it's not perfect, but I that was kind of one of the trick shot transitions I really wanted. That was one of the ones I envisioned like in the first place, and I was happy that I was somehow able to pull that off.
Well, you pulled them off, and they were really awesome. I don't think I could do those.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
And in the other one, you did this will probably a little easier to do. You did a TV flicker on the face of a person watching TV. How did you do that?
A TV flicker on the on Being Normal.
Normal, yeah.
Okay. How did I do that? I think that was life lights. I think those are just those simple little Lego LED lights. I must have plugged them into some of those like little 1x1. Those little 1x1 bricks that also have the stud on like the side.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think I had like a bunch of those kind of pieced together, and I had the life lights stuck through those, and they were just off camera, and I had to kind of shine them onto the character's face.
Okay, that was cool.
That's cool.
Doing like practical effects for like screens in camera is really, really hard to do. Just because usually because when you're working on a scale that small, you don't have a lot of lights that like are that small or can mimic what you need, and B, like you have to like arrange the lights in a way that you're not casting any awkward shadows or anything like that. But it's a lot harder to do. Like I found it's a lot harder to do in stop motion than I think a lot of people may think about. So I don't know. I've never really been too happy with some of the light flicker effects I've gotten, but you do what you can.
Well, that was cool.
Now, what was the one we watched this morning where they were at the bus stop and he was wearing a helmet?
that one was one of your fact entries.
Bus stop. Bus stop.
Bus stop. Yeah.
Duh.
And one of the things you did is you actually had the face turning inside the helmet or the mask, and I guess you have to take the helmet off and then turn the head and put it back on and just realign it perfectly.
Pretty much just that, yeah. And it's not too hard. Sometimes with minifig helmets like that, like ones that like can kind of lock into place. So you have there's a little bit of wiggle room. Mm-hmm. Like that one has like this little chest piece that's what kind of keeps it locked, that little headpiece locked into place. But you might have like a millimeter of give room just because it's on a round head. You can turn just a little bit, but it's the kind of thing where if you're not consistent with that, if that thing, it keeps, even if it's as subtle as that, if it's moving at 12, 24 frames a second, that thing's going to be just jumping and wiggling around kind of indescribably the whole time. So it's just a matter of being able to eyeball it and making sure that like that headpiece is exactly kind of where it needs to be between frames. That it's not like jumbling around. These are just kind of the little weird technical things you have to just sort of constantly be aware of.
Well, that one, I was looking at it, and there was no movement on the helmet whatsoever, just the face moving. It was very cool.
Yep. Thank you. That's probably what I spent the majority of the time animating that, because it's a relatively low key. Well, it was a 24-hour contest film, but it's pretty low key even by that standards. Mm-hmm. But it was fun to work on. I always enjoy the 24-hour contests, and that was kind of a fun challenge. And I wanted to use that hazmat guy for the longest time, but I just haven't found a good use to yet. Well, until then, I suppose. Yeah.
So the animation for the Bricks in Motion movie, was that shot up at Nathan's or at Phil's?
That was at Nate's place, yeah, or his old place in McKinleyville. But that was all done at Nate's place.
Okay, yeah, that actually had some of the best, some just beautiful animation in it, especially the part going across the log.
Oh, thank you. I did that part.
Mm-hmm. And I love the deer. I guess that was just about 5 or 6 deer that you were able to just.
Oof. Yeah, that deer. I never animated. I tried animating the deer once, and it's just a lot of replacement animation. It's a lot of replacement animation because Nate built gosh, how many different? I want to say there are at least like 8 and 10 different stag builds, and it was just replacement animation because it was such a unique design, like designed by Lego standards. There's no way we could build one to make it posable and animatable. So Nate just had to, build the different variations for like its leg movements. So we just had to swap them out and just be very, very careful with them and where we'd place them.
Now, did you travel around for that as well, making that, or were you?
Yeah. Are you talking just the animated portion?
Animation, he just drove.
No, just for the rest of it.
Oh, he went. For
the rest of it, absolutely. Yeah, no, there are a lot of traveling involved. For the post production, for the that animated bit, I traveled up to McKinleyville and worked with Nate and Phil. I think I worked on it. I couldn't spend all my time doing that because I think I was working at Telltale at the time. I had to come up over a couple of weekends to help out while Nate and Phil did most of the animation during the weekdays. But as far as travel goes for the rest of the documentary, yeah, absolutely. As I was saying before during the forest segment, we had a bit in the documentary. It was a West Coast trip. So it started off in Los Angeles. We interviewed people like Forrest and Sean and Garrett Barati and Paul Hollingsworth and Tommy Williamson and Rachel and a few other people. We would go down to San Diego, interviewed Rachel Dew and her family, and we traveled up the coast basically into Lompoc to go interview James Moore, and then I traveled kind of through Southern California for the trip. I dropped the crew off at the airports because there was another leg. They had to go to Canada to go shoot, and that was just the North American side of things. We reached one of our stretch goals in the Kickstarter, and that allowed us to go to Europe actually to go meet and shoot some of the European Brickfilmers. That was really cool. That was the first time I'd ever gotten to really travel abroad, and it was for a brick filming documentary of all things. Mm-hmm. But we got to do quite a bit of traveling. We started off in England, a few towns there, like London, Stoke-on-Trent. Moved into to France, stayed in a few places there, Paris, Molsheim. And then one other place I don't remember the name of, and then out into Germany, where we were in Stuttgart and Berlin.
So wow.
I probably should mention who some of the people we interviewed as well. We interviewed people like Chris Salt. He's an old brick filmer named Buxton from. Yeah, you know him. We interviewed Maxime Marion, France and Alex. And Stefan Troger, Go Lego.
Obviously, we know all those.
Yeah, we're huge fans of everybody you went and talked with.
Right.
So.
Yeah, as were we, and it was really cool getting to meet them, because that's one of those things where I never thought in a million years I was ever going to get to meet. I was ever going to get to meet Stefan or Maxime or the likes, but it was just kind of one of those things like the opportunity. You never quite know what opportunities you're going to get presented, and that was just a really cool, and I'm really grateful for that experience. And I'd love to go back out and visit some of those people again, just to go say hey, maybe even collaborate on something.
Yeah.
That would be fun. Wouldn't it be neat if like everybody could just get together in one central place and just meet, have this big brick filming party, and
it's probably why we get along, is because we don't meet.
Yeah.
Wouldn't that be a blast? I would love to do that. Yeah, just like go meet in like go rent out like a giant warehouse studio space and then just have like a giant Brickfilmer meetup party and just work on something.
Yeah,
because it's like
cool.
you've actually met a lot of people, but you feel like, you know, you and I have like corresponded for years and years, so obviously we're friends. But this is actually the first time we've spoken, you know, audio,
like at length.
Right, but you know these people, they're friends, you know, even though you've never actually met. We're all friends, you know, so it's like, oh, I know him, I know her.
Right, exactly, and that to me is like the spirit of the community. Like that's what's made brick filming so special for me, and that's why I've stuck with it, you know, as long as I have, and especially like in the early days of like, you know, this is, you know, the kind of thing that began, you know, back on the days of, you know, the brickfilms.com forums, but you know, just that spirit of collaboration and just the desire to meet people and to help them grow and be helped by them to help, you know, kind of grow the craft and sort of in general and kind of just within ourselves, our own abilities, and just like that we're so not only willing to, but like eager and excited to, and to meet people and to, you know, make friends and work on each other's stuff. And and just that to me is just the coolest part. That's like been the most life-changing part of all of it, really.
I agree. It's an amazing community. Everybody's wonderful. All the countries, I love it that we're connected with people and we correspond with people in different countries all the time. And
absolutely,
I just find that amazing.
Absolutely, and you know, and here I am getting to hang out with you guys on your podcast. You know, like we said, you get to correspond, get to hang out with some really cool people, and get to have a lot of fun doing it.
I agree, love it. And you know, brick filming has helped you obviously in college, but also helped you. We'll get into the Telltale. Helped you get into that.
Yeah, I owe quite a bit to brick filming, it seems. But yeah, I mean, I like to think that I'm pretty sure, yeah, brick filming, like I said, got me into college, and I'm pretty sure it landed me my job at Telltale, because I remember the majority of my interview questions for the position I was applying for. Most of them were about my brick filming, because I submitted my YouTube channel along with my resume, and I guess that was what caught the recruiter's eye, probably even more than the storyboard test they had all applying cinematic artists do.
And what type of work did you do there?
Okay, so like I said, I was a cinematic artist. So for those unfamiliar with Telltale games, Telltale Telltale Games makes episodic story-driven games, very, very cinematic and narrative-driven, and they have a different release schedule than most other companies. They have series rather than individual whole games, and there's episodes, and they like kind of periodically release new episodes of a season over the course of like a year. But getting back to it, okay, so our games are, I gotta stop saying it we an hour and stuff like that, but I'll get to that. Anyway, so the games themselves are very cinematic and like they almost would seem closer to like interactive television or movies more than like your average video game. And what my position was basically to do the cinematics on it. So basically what a cinematic artist at Telltale does is they're the cinematographers. They're given the environments, the characters, and like the animation library and the script and the dialogue, and we're basically told just to go at it, like make the movie of this scene. Like we're given individual scenes, and we work in the engine, and we basically block characters. We block the cameras. We are responsible for like pacing out like the dialogue and the timing, the flow and the editing of the shots. We even basically generate the performances for each character. We basically we're basically given all the assets of the game, and it's our job to essentially put it together. And
is this put together? This is all digital components, or do you have actors, or?
My job it's all digital.
Okay.
My former job, it was all digital, all done on the computer. occasionally, we'd collaborate with like the animation team if we needed like a specific action or something, and we need to record like reference footage. We might go out with them and like with like a little video camera and like do whatever action we need onto a mat or something, for safety. But but in general, it's all done on the computer. So it's basically what we were doing, or it's basically what I was doing with brick filming, just except within a video game engine.
Okay. Video game engine. I see.
Yeah. So it's all done or my job is all done with the with Telltale's engine.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
And you were there for what, 2 years?
About 2.5 years. Yeah. Pretty much up until earlier this month. Yeah.
Okay.
Great experience, though. Lots of fun.
It has its ups and downs. There are times of fun. There's also a lot of times of it's when you work in the games industry, you find that it's a bit demanding sometimes. I mean, you work with a lot of really talented people, and we were just talking about collaboration, and and you're all kind of forge these friendships and these relationships kind of just in the fire of production crunch. And it's really cool to do a job that you almost kind of feel like you were designed to do, and and it's really that's really cool, and you get to work with a lot of people doing the same thing as you are, so there's a lot of like-minded folks. But I have some great memories of working at Telltale. I have some less than great memories but I don't regret being there at all.
Awesome.
And you learn a lot. You learn a lot just about your own process and a little bit about yourself when you're sort of faced with these hard deadlines. And sometimes it kind of comes down to I have to get this done somehow, and I don't have a whole lot of time to do it. So no time to mope or complain about it. Now's the time to just it's got to happen. Got to go. It's got to move. I don't know if that made any sense or not.
It did, but it's all good experience, though. Whether it helps you learn and do other things.
Mm-hmm.
Each thing is a learning step for something else.
Exactly, and plus it's good to have on the CV. So again, I'm happy for my time at Telltale, and it's been a really 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 good, really cool experience. Learning experience.
Get you into your next opportunity, and we'll see where that goes.
I suppose we will.
Well, we're getting kind of long in time here, but I feel negligent that I probably we haven't mentioned two of your most awesome brick films, Emperor's Guard and Stranger Than Fishing. And I love those two.
Oh, thank you.
Anything inspire you for the Emperor's Guard? Is it just a concept that came up to you?
Emperor's Guard. I wanted to make a Star Wars film, and for some reason, I just thought of the Guard. No, a friend of mine let me borrow, I think, a big old bucket of Lego he had. I had to give it back eventually, or maybe I was borrowing the character, but he let me borrow that red Emperor Guard figure, and it was the only one I had. And I loved this guy so much, I wanted to make a film about it. And then all of a sudden, I just thought of, wait, red guards like the Buckingham Palace guards. Okay, cool. And they never speak in the movies, so yeah, there's a joke to be had there somewhere.
Yeah, that was funny. I appreciated that. My family's all English. I've seen the changing of the guards and all that, so I definitely appreciated that one. That was funny.
Well, I'm very glad. That's what I was going for. Emperor's Royal Guard was fun. Again, it's more of that awkward pause stuff I'm not a huge fan of in retrospect, but I appreciate that. A lot of people seem to like that one, and Kashen does the voice of the guard, and for what it was, I was pleased with it.
Short films always have are quite popular. They're easy to watch. Especially when they're funny like that, so it's just one of those things that's, just watchable over and over again.
Thank you, especially when they're Star Wars based too.
True.
That's helpful.
And definitely loved Stranger Than Fishing. If I'm not incorrect, I thought I read it won the first place at the
UCLA's Short on the Hill Festival.
Shorts on the Hill. That was really cool. And Profession ended up winning something else too. I think that that ended up winning. There was another larger like campus movie festival or something, and Profession ended up winning like best animated there. But long story short, that was a very good year for me. But yeah, Stranger Than Fiction, that one to me might actually still be my favorite film I've made. Just because I somehow that film just kind of came together in a way that like it hadn't before, and I think I'm just really pleased. Just like it's the one I can watch, and I guess every filmmaker is their own worst critic, so just kind of bearing that in mind when I say this, it's the film I can look at and I see the fewest like flaws or things I would change about it.
And that was the one that started out, you were going to write it one way, and then you took a break and completely changed how it ended up, right?
Exactly, yeah. So I started this project. I was a freshman, I think, in college, and I came back to home for spring break, and I really, really wanted to make a short brick film. So I had this idea for a little one joke film about, hey, this guy's going fishing, and then the punchline is that he'll catch this really, really big piranha looking thing, and it's gonna swallow him in one bite, and then shrink back to the size of a normal fish, like its mouth like comically gets huge, swallows this guy, and then jumps back in the ocean. That's the film, you know. And that was originally what I was going for, but I only got through the first like 10-15 seconds of the film, within that week off I had from school before I had to fly back to LA, and I had to put the projects on hold. But I think that was to the project's benefit, because I had, like you said, I had a lot of time to just be away from it and kind of let that idea sort of percolate in my head a bit. And it kind of evolved from being simply a one joke film. I had like a little other idea. I kind of kept getting other ideas for it. I had this weird Atlantean shark minifigure that I'd gotten some random set, and I was like, I got to use this in something. I don't know what, but this character is too hilarious. I can't not use it in something. And I just kind of kept coming up with these ideas for it. And I returned home over the summer, and I had basically a brand new film in my head, and I just kind of picked up where I left off. And it turned into this 3.5 minute or 3 minutes and 14 second long thing. Which
was funny, and then I had to laugh when it talked and we recognized James, also known as Spastic Chihuahua.
Yeah, good old
James the shark. James. That was just funny.
He's still on my case about when I'm making the sequel, and I have a couple of ideas, or at least an idea for like a joke one-off film involving that shark character. But I'm sure if I ever actually go through with that, I could convince him to reprise the role for me.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah, that shark. That's a great character. He was funny. I loved him.
Thank you. I'm really happy with James's performance, and that shark character is just, it's hilarious to me. I love that the face on it. I don't know. It's hard to explain. I love him so much.
Yeah. Well, you see a shark coming up, and then you don't expect like the mouth to open to start talking. It's like, oh, okay. Totally different than what I was expecting, and that's what's great about it.
It kind of reminds me of a Saturday Night Live skit where a shark comes up to the door, or a sharkogram or something like that. I don't remember. I mean, this is from like Belushi.
Thank you. That is such an incredible compliment. Thank you so much.
Sharkogram. Anyway, that would have been Jim Belushi, not his what's his brother?
John Belushi.
John Belushi. John
Belushi,
right. Not Jim Belushi. Yeah,
right.
I'm so used to Jim, I hardly remember John. Yeah. But yeah, but anyway.
Well, now maybe I have to make that sequel now. So
yeah, that would be good.
Mm-hmm.
And as much as I hate, I mean, we actually could like keep you on here for another 2 hours, but
that would be a blast. But I know we all have. Kim, I don't want to talk your voice out.
Well, I have a excuse me, I have a kid that I have to pick up from school too.
Oh yeah, that's important to do, I suppose.
But we'll have to do this again, and if you don't mind, like maybe after the cleaners, after your another shark.
And maybe even a panel type situation.
Anytime, anywhere. I had a blast, and I would love to be on this again.
Well, I can't thank you enough for spending this much time with us. It's really been so much fun. I knew you'd be awesome to talk to, and we've really been looking forward to this. So.
Thank you.
The pleasure is all mine. I'm glad we finally got to do this.
All right.
Yeah,
awesome.
Nice to finally get to talk to you, and it's been fun. That's the great thing about this, and you have been so kind.
Well, thank you,
So
thank you, and
appreciate it.
you guys have been a pleasure to talk to and be interviewed by.
Well, like I said, we're going to have to continue this because we still have a lot more that we didn't even touch on, but you're going to be doing so much, and we're looking forward to seeing the cleaners and everything else that you come up with. So wish you the best with your job and everything else that you do.
Well, thank you so much, and yeah, anytime, anywhere, just give me a holler.
Awesome.
All right. Well, we're always here for you, so we will look forward to chatting with you soon.
Thanks.
Perfect.
Thanks, Zach. You take care.
Thank you. You as well.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thanks so much to Zach for being so generous with his time, and thanks to everyone who stuck with us through this entire podcast. Please check out our sponsors and partners on the Brickfilmers Guild homepage, and don't forget to check out Zach's amazing brick films on his YouTube channel, MindGame Studios. We want to give a huge thank you to our Patreon supporters, Spuggastew, Something's Awry Productions, and Frame 5 Studios. We love you guys. Thank you so much for your support. Don't forget to enter your best brick film of the year into the 2017 Brickfilmers Guild Film Festival. The deadline to enter is December 31st, 2017. If you would like to sponsor one of our podcasts, please contact me through one of our social media sites. We'd also like to thank Kevin MacLeod for his wonderful music, which we use for our podcast and in our brick films. Also, if you're listening to this podcast on iTunes, please rate and comment. We'd really appreciate that. So, until next time, bye y'all.